I used to think office parties were the safest place to stay invisible. Keep your head down, sip a beer, nod at a few jokes, and pray nobody corners you into talking about weekend plans. But that night, in the middle of downtown Chicago, I learned two brutal lessons. Alcohol makes people reckless, and apparently, my coworker had been holding back a secret that would tear through every wall I had built. The kiss came out of nowhere. 1 second, I was laughing at some awful karaoke rendition of Bon Jovi, and the next, his lips were on mine, warm, trembling, desperate. My glass slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor, but no one seemed to notice. Or maybe I didn't care. For a moment, the world shrank to the taste of whiskey on his breath and the unsteady rhythm of his heartbeat pressing against my chest. And then, just as suddenly, he was gone. He slipped through the crowd like smoke, vanishing before I could grab his arm, before I could even whisper his name. That was Ethan, my coworker, my rival, something I had never dared to define. The following Monday, the office hummed with the usual gray monotony. Clicking keyboards, muted phone calls, the faint smell of burnt coffee drifting from the break room. I tried to act normal, but my insides were chaos. I kept scanning for him. Every time the elevator dinged, every time footsteps passed my cubicle, my chest tightened. But his desk stayed empty. 3 days. No calls, no emails, no Ethan. By Friday, frustration won over confusion. I wasn't angry about the kiss god. If anything, I hadn't stopped replaying it. What drove me insane was the silence. Did it mean nothing to him? Did he regret it? Did he think I would laugh at him, humiliate him, out him? I thought about all the times we clashed in meetings, the sarcastic comments, the side glances we traded when our boss made ridiculous demands. I thought about how his eyes softened sometimes when no one else was looking, how he lingered a second too long when he handed me reports. I thought I was imagining it all. Until that night. The breaking point came when I ran into our boss, Angela, in the hallway. She asked if I could take over one of Ethan's accounts temporarily. He requested time off, she said, adjusting her glasses. Didn't he tell you? I thought you two were close. Close. The word burned. That weekend, I couldn't take it anymore. I found myself scrolling through Ethan's social media like a desperate teenager, piecing together clues from photos, check-ins, half-written captions. Finally, a picture. A dimly lit bar, a glass of whiskey, and the caption, "Some nights, the weight is too heavy." I knew the place. The bar was nearly empty when I walked in. The kind of place where neon signs buzzed faintly and the jukebox played old Springsteen songs no one requested. And there he was sitting in the corner booth, head bent over a glass, hair falling into his eyes. For a second, I froze in the doorway because I didn't recognize him. Not the Ethan who barked clever comebacks in the office. Not the Ethan who always looked annoyingly put together. This Ethan looked broken. I slid into the booth across from him. He didn't look up. "You've been avoiding me," I said. My voice was steadier than I expected. His fingers tightened around the glass. "Maybe that's for the best." I almost laughed bitterly. "You kiss me in front of half the company, then vanish, and now you decide avoiding me is best?" His eyes finally lifted to mine, and I wished they hadn't. Because what I saw there wasn't guilt or fear, it was pain. Raw, unfiltered pain. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he whispered. Two just snapped. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "And now what?" I leaned in. "Do you regret it?" His silence was an answer I didn't want. "Ethan," I said softer this time, "you can't just light me on fire and walk away. I deserve to know what this means." The jukebox changed songs, a slow ballad cutting through the stale air. For a long moment, he stared at his drink like it could rewrite his mistakes. Then he finally spoke. "You don't understand. I've been hiding for years. From my family, from everyone. And that night, seeing you smile, watching you act like nothing ever touches you, I broke. I wanted 1 second of something real. But I can't give you more than that." The words hit like a punch. I should have gotten up. I should have walked out. Instead, I stayed because some part of me knew that wasn't the whole truth. The first time I ever noticed Ethan was on my second week at the firm. He had challenged my presentation in front of everyone, tearing apart my data like it was paper. I hated him instantly, but later that day, when I was sulking in the break room, he passed by, dropped a Snickers on my desk and said, "Don't take it personally. You're good. Just need sharper edges." That was Ethan, cutting and kind in the same breath. Infuriating, magnetic, impossible to ignore. And now, across from me in that booth, he looked like he was begging me to hate him. But I couldn't. "I don't want 1 second," I said. My voice cracked, but I forced it steady. "I want more. I don't care if you're scared. I'm scared too. But don't tell me that kiss meant nothing. Don't tell me you felt nothing." His jaw tightened. He looked away, but his hands betrayed him, trembling where they rested on the table. "You think I don't want this?" he muttered. "You think I haven't spent months trying not to look at you, not to want you? But if I let myself have this, it could ruin everything. My career, my family, us." I reached across the table and covered his hand with mine. He flinched but didn't pull away. "Maybe it ruins us," I said, "or maybe it saves us. But either way, you don't get to decide alone." For the first time all week, he looked at me without walls. Just two men, sitting in a crappy bar, holding on to something too fragile to name. And in that moment, I knew this was only the beginning. The night at the bar ended with no promises, no clean answers. He walked out before I could ask him to stay, leaving me with nothing but the ghost of his warmth on my hand. But something shifted had cracked open just enough for me to see the truth. Ethan wasn't indifferent. He was terrified. For the next week, I kept my distance. Not out of anger, but because I needed him to come back on his own terms. And just when I started to wonder if he ever would, he showed up at my apartment. No warning, no text, just a knock at 11 p.m. When I opened the door, he was drenched from the rain, his blazer clinging to him, hair plastered to his forehead. His eyes looked frantic, like he had run through a storm with nothing but desperation pushing him forward. "I can't do this alone," he blurted. I stepped aside without a word. He walked in, pacing the length of my living room before collapsing onto the couch, dripping water all over the cushions. "I've been lying to myself for so long," he said, voice hoarse, "pretending that what I feel doesn't matter, that I can just bury it and move on. But every time I close my eyes, I see you. Every meeting, every stupid argument, every time you laugh, I can't escape it. And I don't want to anymore." My chest tightened, because this was the Ethan I had been waiting for. Vulnerable, honest, terrified, but willing to try. I sat beside him, close enough for our knees to brush. "So what now?" His lips trembled into a broken smile. "Now, I'm asking if you'll give me a chance. Even if I mess up. Even if I get scared again." The first time we kissed without the haze of alcohol or the chaos of a party, it was nothing like the first. No crowd, no shock, no running away. Just two men in a quiet apartment, the rain tapping against the window, holding on like the world outside didn't matter. And for a while it was enough. But life, as it always does, had other plans. At work, rumors started swirling. People had noticed how often we disappeared together, how his sharp remarks toward me had softened, how our silences stretched too long in meetings. A careless glance here, a smile there, it was only a matter of time before someone put the pieces together. One afternoon, our boss called me into her office. Angela leaned back in her chair, hands folded. "You and Ethan," she said. Not a question, just a statement hanging heavy in the air. I froze. My career flashed before my eyes. Every promotion I had fought for. Every late night proving I was worth more than the whispers. "We're just coworkers," I lied. She studied me for a long moment, then sighed. "You're both adults. I don't care what you do outside this office. But you need to be careful. Not everyone will be as understanding." I walked out with my stomach in knots. Not because of what she said, but because she was right. Not everyone would be kind. That night, Ethan spiraled. "They're going to find out," he said, pacing my kitchen. "My father, my family, everyone at the firm they'll know. And then what? Do you know what my dad would say if he found out his son was Don't. I cut him off. He stopped mid-step, his chest heaving. Don't what? Don't erase yourself to make him comfortable. Don't throw away what we have because you're scared of his disappointment. You think I don't get it? I've lived my whole life hiding too. But I'm tired, Ethan. Aren't you tired? His eyes glossed with unshed tears, and for once, he didn't argue. He just collapsed into my arms, shaking against me, whispering over and over, I'm so damn tired. The weeks that followed were a test of endurance. Some days he was brave. He held my hand under the table at restaurants, kissed me softly in the shadow of skyscrapers. Other days he withdrew, slipping back into silence, afraid of what the world might say. But little by little, something changed. He started smiling more, laughing easier, letting himself breathe around me. And I realized that love isn't always fireworks and declarations, it's patience. It's sitting through the storms, waiting for the sun. The breaking point came during the company's annual conference in New York. Hundreds of employees crammed into a grand ballroom, networking and schmoozing under chandeliers. The memory of our first kiss at last year's party lingered between us, unspoken. Halfway through the night, I found Ethan standing by the balcony, staring out at the city lights. I joined him, close enough that our shoulders touched. This feels familiar, I teased softly. He smirked, eyes still on the skyline. Except this time, I'm not running. Before I could reply, he turned, cupped my face in both hands, and kissed me. Not hidden, not stolen, but open, fearless. Right there in front of everyone. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Whispers rose like a tide. And for a split second, panic surged in my chest. But then Ethan pulled back, looked at me with steady eyes, and I realized wasn't afraid anymore. Neither was I. The fallout was messy, of course. Some colleagues avoided us, others gossiped behind our backs. His father's reaction was exactly as cruel as he'd feared. But through all of it, Ethan held my hand. We fought, we stumbled, we doubted, but we didn't let go. And over time, the noise faded. People moved on, as they always do. And what remained was us. Months later, on a quiet Sunday morning, I woke to find him cooking in my kitchen, hair sticking up in every direction, wearing one of my shirts. He turned, spatula in hand, grinning sheepishly when he caught me staring. What? He asked. Nothing, I said, though my chest ached with the kind of happiness I never thought I'd have. Just never thought I'd get here. He crossed the room, pressed a kiss to my forehead. Me neither. But I'm glad we did. And for the first time in a long time, I believed that maybe, just maybe, love wasn't something to fear. Because in the end, it wasn't about the kiss at the party. It wasn't about the fear or the whispers or the storm we had to walk through. It was about the choice we made over and over again to stay, to fight, to believe that two men in love deserved a happy ending too. And that's exactly what we gave ourselves. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.